I have lived 12,000 years, and I have never seen anyone simply leave. The council chamber held 847 seats. 311 were empty. The empty seats were still warm. Behind the high obsidian bench, High Arbiter Krillick's 9 mandibles clicked at 93 Hz, a distress frequency his species used when their legal arguments collapsed. His compound eyes had 847 facets, one for each member species. Each facet reflected empty chairs. His legal team had been scrambling through subsection 847 for 47 seconds now. 6 Gathak lawyers, their amber-striped thoraxes heaving, their manipulator limbs trembling as they scrolled through dense legalese. Subsection 847, the one he had never read, the one that said, in plain galactic standard, no certified sentience may be compelled to remain. The exit is always open. The council forgot to lock it. The blast doors hissed shut. No ships, no weapons, no declarations of war, just footsteps. 84 of them. Ambassador Sira Valdris had counted them 11 years ago. She had been counting ever since. Each step on the obsidian floor made a sound like a stone dropping into still water. Plink, plink, plink. The illusion memory keeper stood in the gallery, watching. Elder Thessa 9, 12,000 years old. Silicon silicate composite skin that caught the chamber's cold light like fog over a lake. Faceted cranial ridges that had witnessed the rise and fall of 4 galactic powers. She had seen species rise like fire and fall like ash. She had watched the council declare her own people erased, had felt the deletion of 47,000 years of history like a knife between her ribs. She still had the scar where the archivists had cut the data tap from her neural implant. She had never, not once, seen anyone simply leave. The human delegation's teacups sat on the obsidian floor. 5 cups. One of them had a hairline crack shaped like a lightning bolt. It was still warm. Steam rose from the chamomile in thin ribbons that twisted upward and disappeared into the cold air. Krillick's 9 mandibles stopped clicking. His successor would read subsection 847 3 years later. But that came after. That came long after the walking. What came first was the laughter. Would you have stayed in that chamber listening to them laugh, or would you have walked out, because she walked, stay close? 11 years earlier, the council chamber of verdicts, the tea was still too hot. Ambassador Sira Valdris pressed her thumb against the warm ceramic chamomile, steeped exactly 4 minutes, still 47 seconds from drinkable. The crack caught the chamber's cold light like a scar she refused to hide. Her silver pocket chronometer sat on the arm of her chair. She had inherited it from her mother, who had inherited it from her grandmother, who had carried it through the Battle of Britain in 1940. The glass face was scratched. The hands still kept perfect time. 46 seconds now. The council chamber of verdicts was deliberately cold. 14 degrees Celsius. The Gathak Dominion liked their environments chilly. It slowed the metabolic rates of their rivals. Sira's breath fogged with each exhale. The alien delegation sat on elevated platforms 2.3 meters above human level. Her chair had no armrests. Her feet barely touched the polished obsidian floor. She had been sitting in this chair for 11 years of council sessions. Her back still ached after the 4th hour. The human delegation sat in the observer trench, a sunken pit, designed for species with no voting rights. The walls were 2 meters high, lined with the same pale obsidian as the floor. 11 empty seats surrounded them, reserved for species the council had already extincted. The quarantine section, they called it. A plaque at eye level read, Quarantine Section 7, Unproven Sentience. Sira had read that plaque 11 years ago on her first day. She had memorized the manufacturing date stamped on its back. Year 2847 of Galactic Concord, 400 years ago. They had not updated the plaque since. 40 seconds now. High Arbiter Krillick's 9 spread his 9 articulated limbs across the bench. Each limb was 2.1 meters long, chitinous black exoskeleton that gleamed under the chamber's pale lights. Amber striations across his thorax, each stripe marking a century of service. He had 123 stripes. His compound eyes had 847 individual facets. one for each member species of the galactic conquered. When he looked at the human delegation, he used exactly one facet. The rest focused on species that mattered. He did not look at the human delegation. Humanity's petition for defensive pact status is denied, he said. His mandibles clicked between each word, a speech rhythm his species used when delivering verdicts they found amusing. Click, click, pause. Click, click, pause. The sound carried across the chamber like a countdown. Your species has produced 0 technological innovations in 127 standard cycles. Your military uses chemical propulsion. You have 14 billion people who still practice manual agriculture. 30 seconds. He paused. The gallery of 312 delegates obliged with laughter. A Greltian ambassador, a 7-limbed gas bag who inflated his throat sac to amplify his voice, shouted, "They paint pictures of food and hang them on walls." More laughter. The Greltian inflated further. His throat sac turned pink. A Vorthak delegate added, "They still use paper, in the 47th century. 20 seconds. The pale marble columns rose 90 meters. The sound echoed for 3 full seconds before fading. Sira had timed it. She timed everything. That was how you won against people who thought you were stupid. You paid attention to seconds. 15 seconds. She took 1 sip. Chamomile still too hot. 10 seconds. She set the cup down with a soft clink that echoed 3 seconds through the chamber. She stood, adjusted her jacket, navy blue, wool, 3 brass buttons, earth manufactured. She had polished the buttons this morning with a cloth her mother had given her. The cloth still smelled like lavender. Her mother had been dead for 11 years. 5 seconds. She picked up a single sheet of paper, a printout, paper. The Greltian would laugh if he saw it. Let him laugh. She walked toward the exit ramp. 84 steps. She had counted them when she first arrived 11 years ago. She counted them again now, as she had at the end of every council session, every humiliation, every denied petition. 1, 2, 3. The council's laughter faded. By step 40, the chamber was silent except for the soft tap of her shoes on obsidian. By step 60, Krillik's 9 mandibles had stopped clicking. His compound eyes had turned 84 facets toward her, 1 for each step. By step 82, someone in the gallery whispered, "Where is she going?" The whisper echoed, 3 seconds, then silence. Step 83, step 84. The blast doors hissed open. Cold air from the corridor rushed in, smelling of recycled atmosphere and ozone. Sira walked through. The blast doors hissed shut behind her. She did not look back. Geneva Bunker 7, a cold room with a single humming server. The blast door had words carved into steel, Operation Forgotten Patience. Below it, smaller, Est, Year 13, Cycle 47 of Council Indifference. The letters were worn. Someone had traced them with their fingers many times. Sira Valdris stood before a hologram showing 0 council ships within 4 light-years of Sol. The map was blue and green, Earth's colors. She had chosen the palette herself. "They think we're irrelevant," she said. General Marcus Webb did not look up from his knitting. The gray scarf was 1.2 meters long, 847 stitches. He called it stress management. His daughter had taught him to knit during the Martian War. His daughter had died in the Martian War. He had been knitting ever since. "Let's keep it that way," he said. His knitting needles clicked. Aluminum. Cheap. He had bought them at a pharmacy on leave 30 years ago. They were the only pair he had ever owned. Dr. Aris Thorne twitched his left ear, a tic he'd developed in graduate school when running quantum entanglement calculations. He had 34 patents. He had never once been asked to testify before the council. The council did not know his name. He preferred it that way. "The listening posts are online," he said. "All 1,847 of them. Every asteroid belt within 2 light-years of Sol has at least 1 relay. The Dominion's patrol routes are mapped to 98% accuracy." He tapped the hologram. Red lines appeared, council patrol routes. 847 of them woven through human space like a net. "The gaps are here, here, and here," he pointed. "They don't patrol the outer belt because they think nothing lives there." Sira nodded. "In 9 years," she said, We built 1,847 listening posts on 63 asteroid belts, detected 2,391 Council patrol routes, identified exactly 12 species who have been publicly humiliated by the Galactic Dominion. She paused. We approached 9, 7 agreed to meet, 6 signed. The server hummed, a single note steady and low. Sierra had stood in this room for 9 years listening to that hum. It had become a lullaby, a promise. Nina Volkov fed her sourdough starter. Dennis was 1,203 days old. The starter had outlasted 3 council oversight committees. The smell of sourdough filled the bunker, sharp, sour, alive. Nina had named the starter after her grandfather, who had baked bread in a village in Ukraine before the war that ended Earth, the war that made the council notice humans at all. 6 signed what? Nina asked. She poured flour into a ceramic bowl. The flour dust floated in the air, catching the light, white specks that looked like stars. Sierra smiled. The Coalition of the Forgotten, the Whisper Corridor, was not on any council map. 63 asteroid stations linked by quantum entanglement comms. No detectable transmission. No council patrol routes within 3 light years. The Galactic Dominion had declared the sector economically irrelevant in year 1104. They had not visited since. Kalen Mbeki hummed Old Earth, jazz standards under his breath. He had spent 12 years embedded in council observer missions. He knew which delegates drank before sessions, which species hated each other, which ones were waiting for a door. The Dominion doesn't read, he said. That's their weakness. They assume if a document is old, it's settled. They never check the fine print. He hummed a few bars of Take 5. The Times signature was unusual. That was why he liked it. Priya Chandrasekar stacked pebbles while she thought. She had designed the Whisper network across 9 overlooked species. Her pebble stack was 47 stones high, one for each year she had been listening to council transmissions. Section 847, she said. That's the exit clause. Article 9, Section 3 of the Galactic Concord Charter. No species has ever invoked it. She placed another pebble. The stack wobbled, then held. The Dominion doesn't know it exists. 6 species. 1 table. Bread from Nina's starter still warm from the oven. The crust cracked when you touched it. The sound was like ice breaking in spring. The Silic Concord representative vibrated at 47 hertz. Silicon-based crystalline, 1.7 meters tall. Their species had been denied voting rights in year 847. They had been waiting 847 years for someone to remember. Humanity has no military, the Concord said. The vibration made the bread crumbs jump on the table. No technology, no status. Why should we trust you? Sierra poured tea. The ceramic cup had a hairline crack. She had dropped it the day her mother died. The crack started at the rim and jagged down the side like a lightning bolt. She had been meaning to repair it for 11 years. She never did. Because we're still here, she said. The council declared us irrelevant 127 cycles ago. We didn't die. We just got very, very quiet. The Concord vibrated faster, 52 hertz, excitement. You waited, it said. 127 cycles, you collected data, you built listening posts, you found us. We found each other, Sierra said. The Kith Trade Guild signed first. 1,200 individuals, all that remained of a species that had once spanned 17 systems. Their homeworld had been quarantined in year 902. Their ambassador wore a mask made from the hull of their last ship. The Hrenai remnants signed second. 1.2 million survivors. Homeworld burned. Their ambassador's fur was still singed at the edges. She had been 12 years old when the fires came. She was 1,200 years old now. She still smelled smoke in her dreams. The Vel transcript pressed a glyph seal, written language only, denied voice in year 1203. Their ambassador wrote on a sheet of paper, "We sign, we remember, we leave." The Amsar hive took 47 seconds to reach consensus. 2.3 million bodies, one mind. The council had deemed them non-sentient because they shared consciousness. The hive's signature was a bioluminescent pulse that lit up the asteroid station like dawn. Blue light washed over the table. The bread crumbs glowed. The illusion memory keepers did not sign immediately. Elder illusion keeper Thessa 9 sat motionless. She was 2.1 meters tall, silicon silicate composite skin that felt like cool river stones, faceted cranial ridges that caught the light and split it into rainbows, 4 manipulator digits, each one jointed like a spider's leg. She had been reading Earth's entire historical archive for the past 6 hours. She had watched footage of the 1945 nuclear detonations, the 1979 Antarctic Treaty, the 2037 Solar Flare Protocol, the 2068 Martian Uprising, the 2093 Collapse, the 2112 Rebuilding. She had watched humans kill each other, forgive each other, build things, break things, plant gardens over mass graves. She touched Sira's hand. Her manipulator digit cracked a stress cell. The sound was like a knuckle popping. She rubbed the scarred patch where her species' 47,000 years of history had been deleted. The scar was smooth and dead. No sensation. The archivists had been thorough. "You built this," Thessa 9 said, her voice cracked. "A coalition of the forgotten while they laughed at your tea." She paused. "We did not leave the council, Ambassador. We were erased. You are the first to remember us." Sira did not pull her hand away. "We remember," she said. Thessa 9 signed with a tear that etched the paper. The tear was not water, illusions wept silicate. The drop landed on the page and crystallized, embedding itself in the fibers. A permanent signature, a promise that could not be erased. Sira served bread, Nina's sourdough still warm. She tore a piece and handed it to Thessa 9. The illusion had never tasted yeast. Her species metabolized minerals. They did not eat. They did not know hunger. She put the bread in her mouth. She chewed. "It is warm," she said, "like your species." The coalition had signed, but the clock was running. Dr. Thorne found Form 847G on Council Legal Server 847 Beta, subsection 12, paragraph 3. He ate a piece of bread, chewed twice, swallowed. His ear twitched left side then right, a double tick he reserved for major discoveries. "Voluntary sentience revocation," he said. "Any certified species may voluntarily revoke its own sentient status by filing Form 847G with 12 cycles notice and proof of alternative governance." He paused. "No species has ever filed." General Webb knitted 3 stitches, did not look up. "Why not?" he asked. Thorne smiled. "Because they thought no one would be stupid enough to leave." Webb's needles clicked. 4 stitches, 5. "How long would the council have to respond?" 12 cycles, Thorne said. "By law, they cannot refuse the filing. By law, they cannot attack a non-sentient species. By law, they cannot collect taxes, conscript soldiers, or demand resources from a species that has legally declared itself irrelevant." He pulled up the document, dense text, thousands of subsections. Form 847G has 847 subsections. The Dominion reads subsection 1, maybe subsection 2. They have never read subsection 12. They certainly have never read subsection 847. Webb stopped knitting. Subsection 847. Thorne's ear twitched again. The exit clause, the one that says no certified sentience may be compelled to remain. The exit is always open. The Council wrote it into the Charter 3,000 years ago as a courtesy, a theoretical option. No one ever thought anyone would use it. He paused. The Council forgot to lock the door. Kalen Mbeki hummed "So What" under his breath. Miles Davis, 1959, 1,000 years ago, and still the coolest thing anyone had ever recorded. "I've watched the Dominion's legal team for 11 years, he said. "They're lazy. They assume power protects itself. They never read past Section 3, because Section 3 is where the loopholes that benefit them live." He pulled up surveillance footage. Grainy, long range, the Dominion's legal chamber on Gathak Prime. Watch. The footage showed a Gathak lawyer smaller than Krillix 9, younger, fewer amber stripes, scrolling through a document. His mandibles moved as he read. Section 1, Section 2, Section 3. He stopped scrolling, closed the document, walked away. "Every time," Kalen said. 11 years, I've watched them do this 847 times. They read Section 3. They stop. Priya Chandrasekar placed another pebble on her stack. 48 stones. The Whisper Network has confirmed, she said. 6 species are ready to file simultaneous 847 GS. The Dominion cannot challenge all 6 at once. By the time they realize what's happening, humanity will have already filed. She placed another pebble. 49. 12 cycles notice, she said. We file today. The Dominion has 12 years to respond. They will spend those 12 years filing legal challenges that fail, because the law is the law, and they wrote it. Sierra looked at the photograph on her desk. A duck pond in St. James's Park, London, Earth. The photo was old paper, yellowed at the edges. 11 ducks in a line, 3 pigeons on the grass. 1 bench where her mother had sat every Tuesday for 17 years. Her mother had died on that bench. Heart attack, 2041. Sierra had been 23 years old. She had flown from Geneva to London. She had sat on the bench for 6 hours, watching the ducks. The ducks did not care. They kept swimming. Remember what we protect, she told the team. General Webb's knitting needle clicked. You know, he said, not looking up, if this fails, the council will mock us for the scarf. Sierra smiled. Let them, it's a very nice scarf. Webb's needles paused. 847 stitches, he said. 1 for each member species of the council. I started knitting this scarf the day humanity was declared irrelevant. I add 1 stitch every council session. He held up the scarf. Gray wool, soft, imperfect, a dropped stitch near the middle where his hands had shaken. When we leave, I will have 847 stitches, 1 for every species that watched and did nothing. He resumed knitting, and 1 extra for the species that finally walked out the door. 9 pages, 4 clauses. 1 map of exit routes. The Kith Trade Guild signed first. Their ambassador's mask caught the light hull metal from their last ship, polished to a mirror shine. His signature was a scratch mark, a claw drawn through paper. The Hrenai remnant signed second. Their ambassador's fur was still singed. She signed with a trembling hand. Her signature was shaky, uneven. The paper tore slightly under her claw. The Vel transcript pressed a glyph seal. Their ambassador wrote, 47 generations waited for this moment. We signed for all of them. The Amsar Hive sent consensus, 47 seconds of bioluminescent waiting. The station glowed blue, then purple, then white. The hive's signature was a pulse pattern, a heartbeat encoded in light. The Silic Concord vibrated at 63 hertz, joy, relief, something close to weeping. Their signature was a crystalline shard. They broke off a piece of their own body and pressed it into the paper. The illusion memory keepers signed with a tear. Thessa 9 wept silicate. The drop landed on the page and crystallized, clear, hard, permanent. She looked at Sierra. The council will panic, she said. Sierra nodded. Let them. She poured tea, chamomile, steeped exactly 4 minutes. The crack in the cup caught the light. 47 seconds until drinkable. She had time. They all had time. They had been waiting for 12,000 years. They could wait 47 more seconds. The whisper corridor was quiet now. The bioluminescent pulse of the Amsar hive had faded. The Silic Concord had stopped vibrating. The paper with 6 signatures sat in the center of the table. The illusion tear still crystallized on the page. Sierra poured more tea. The crack in her cup caught the light. Lightning bolt shape, dropped the day her mother died. She had been meaning to fix it for 11 years. She never did. Dr. Thorne pulled up the filing system. Council Legal Server 847 Beta. The same server the Dominion had used for 3,000 years. The same passwords. The same security protocols. No one had updated anything since the charter was signed. The filing window opens in 47 seconds, he said. His ear twitched. We file Form 847G12 cycles notice. Proof of alternative governance attached. General Webb kept knitting. 847 stitches now, 1 for each council member species. His needles clicked. Aluminum, cheap, perfect. The Dominion's legal team, Webb said. What are they doing right now? Kalen Mbeki pulled up surveillance footage. Grainy, long range. The Gathak legal chamber on Gathak Prime. A young Galactic lawyer sat at a terminal. His amber stripes were faint, only 3 of them. He was scrolling through something. Section 1, Section 2, Section 3. He stopped scrolling, closed the document, walked away. The same thing they always do, Kalen said. Absolutely nothing. The filing was automatic. Sierra did not press a button, did not sign a form, did not give a speech. Thorne had programmed the submission 9 years ago. The quantum entanglement comms would fire at exactly 14:47 GMT, Earth time, 47 seconds from now. So that's it, Nina asked. She was kneading dough. Her hands were covered in flour. Dennis sat on the counter, bubbling gently. That's it, Sierra said. The server hummed. 40 seconds. I thought there would be more, Nina said. Drumming speeches, something. Sierra smiled. We filed paperwork. That's how you beat an empire. You use their own rules against them. 30 seconds. General Webb stopped knitting. We should probably warn someone, he said. Who? Sierra asked. She looked at the photograph on her desk. Duck pond, 11 ducks, 3 pigeons, 1 bench. The council doesn't think we exist. The Dominion doesn't read. The 6 species we signed have been waiting for 12,000 years. 20 seconds. We're not warning anyone. The server hummed louder. 10 seconds. 5. The quantum entanglement comms fired. 47 years of council indifference. 9 years of listening posts. 6 signatures on a piece of paper. The filing was complete. On Gathak Prime, the automated system received the document. Form 847G Humanity. Voluntary Sentience Revocation. 12 cycles notice. Proof of alternative governance attached. The system logged the filing, timestamped it, filed it under pending, no action required. A Gathak lawyer would see it in the morning. He would skim Section 1, Section 2, Section 3. He would stop scrolling, close the document, walk away. That was the plan. 3 days later, the council noticed. Not because anyone read the filing, because the automated tax system stopped charging humanity. No taxes, no conscription notices, no resource requisitions. The Dominion's accounting algorithm flagged the discrepancy. A human bureaucrat on Gathak Prime, the lowest caste, the ones who did the work no one else wanted, pulled up Form 847G. He read Section 1, Section 2, Section 3. Then he kept reading. Section 4, Section 5, Section 6. By Section 12, his mandibles had stopped clicking. By Section 47, he had called his supervisor. By Section 847, the supervisor had called High Arbiter Krillix 9. Krillix 9 was in the middle of his 3rd meal cycle. He did not appreciate being interrupted. What is the meaning of this? He demanded. The supervisor held up a data slate. Humanity filed Form 847G High Arbiter. 12 cycles notice. The filing is legal. The automated system accepted it. By law, we cannot reverse it. Krillix 9 mandibles clicked at 80 hertz. Annoyance. Humanity, he said. The species that paints pictures of food. Yes, High Arbiter. The species that still uses paper. Yes, High Arbiter. Krillix 9 paused. What is Form 847G? The supervisor hesitated. Voluntary Sentience Revocation. High Arbiter. Article 9, Section 3 of the Galactic Concord Charter. Any certified species may voluntarily revoke its own sentient status with 12 cycles notice. Krillix 9 stared at him. Why would any species do that? The supervisor had no answer. 23 emergency sessions. 847 legal challenges. All of them failed. The council's lawyers worked in shifts, day and night. They read Section 1, Section 2, Section 3. They filed injunctions, appeals, emergency stays. Every single one was denied, because the law was the law, and they had written it. Krillix 9 stood before the council chamber. His 9 limbs spread wide. His compound eyes swept across the gallery. 312 delegates, all of them angry, all of them confused. They cannot simply leave, he screamed. His mandibles clicked at 93 hertz, distress frequency. The sound echoed through the chamber. Humanity is irrelevant. They have no military, no technology, no status. They cannot simply walk out of the Galactic Concord. A Vorthak delegate, raised a manipulator limb. High Arbiter, the filing is legal. The charter explicitly allows. The charter allows nothing. Krillix 9 slammed a limb on the bench. The obsidian cracked. We are the council. We decide who stays and who goes. The chamber fell silent. Then the broadcast started. Sierra Valdris's voice, transmitted from Earth's outer comms relay. 3-second lightspeed delay. Her voice was calm, measured, the same voice she had used in the Observer Trench for 11 years. High Arbiter Krillix 9, delegates of the Galactic Concord. She paused. You told us we were irrelevant. Another pause. We simply agreed with you. The chamber erupted. 312 delegates shouting, mandibles clicking, throat sacs inflating, glyphs flashing across translation screens. Krillix 9 compound eyes reflected chaos. He had never read past Section 3. He had never imagined anyone would. His legal team scrambled through subsection 847, the one he had never read, the one that said, in plain galactic standard, no certified sentience may be compelled to remain. The exit is always open. Subsection 847 continued. 4 more paragraphs. Krillix 9 lawyers read them aloud, their voices trembling. The council may not impede, delay, or obstruct any certified species exercising its right to revoke sentience. Any attempt to do so shall result in immediate invalidation of the council's authority over that species. The council's authority exists only by consent. Consent may be withdrawn. Krillix 9 stared at his legal team. When was this written? Year 1 of the Conquered, High Arbiter, 3,200 years ago. And no one has ever filed. No High Arbiter. No species has ever been stupid enough to leave. The chamber went quiet. In Geneva Bunker 7, Sierra Valdris watched the council feed. The quantum entanglement comms showed everything. Krillix 9 mandibles hanging slack, the legal team's trembling limbs, the gallery's stunned silence. General Webb kept knitting. They're panicking, he said. I know, Sierra said. Nina fed Dennis. The starter bubbled happily. 1,203 days old, still alive, still sour. How long until they figure it out? Nina asked. Sierra looked at the photograph on her desk. Duck pond. 11 ducks, 3 pigeons, 1 bench. Figure what out? That we're not the only ones leaving. The second filing came 17 hours later. The Illusion Memory Keepers. Form 847G12 cycles notice. Proof of alternative governance. The Coalition of the Forgotten. The third filing came 47 minutes after that. The Silic Conquered. Form 847G. Then the Hrenai Remnants. The Kith Trade Guild. The Vel Transcript. The Umsar Hive. 6 filings in 47 hours. All legal, all accepted, all unstoppable. Krillix 9 stopped eating, stopped sleeping. His amber stripes darkened with stress. His mandibles clicked continuously, 93 hertz, the frequency of a dying star. His legal team worked around the clock. They filed injunctions, emergency stays, challenges to the legitimacy of the filings. Every single one was denied, because the law was the law, and they had written it. The council chamber held 847 seats. 311 were empty. The coalition species walked out in silence. No ships, no weapons, no declarations of war, just footsteps. 84 of them. Sierra had counted them 11 years ago. She counted them again now. 1, 2, 3. The Illusion Memory Keepers went first. Thessa 9 led them. Her faceted cranial ridges caught the light. Her 4 manipulator digits hung at her sides. She did not look back. The Silic Conquered followed. Their crystalline bodies vibrated at 63 hertz, joy, relief, something close to weeping. The Hrenai Remnants walked together. Their ambassador's fur was still singed. She held her head high. The Kith Trade Guild, the Vel Transcript, the Umsar Hive. 6 species, 311 individuals, walking out of the council chamber, walking out of the Galactic Concord, walking out of 12,000 years of erasure and silence and forgetting. Krillix 9 watched them go. His mandibles stopped clicking. His compound eyes reflected empty chairs. His legal team had stopped scrambling. There was nothing left to scramble for. The law was the law. The exit was open. The council had forgotten to lock the door. Thessa paused at the blast doors. She turned, looked back at the chamber, at the empty seats, at the delegates who had laughed at humanity's tea, at the High Arbiter who had never read past Section 3. She whispered to no one, to everyone. You taught them that silence is not weakness. It is the space between heartbeats, the moment before the knife. The blast doors hissed shut. 12 years later, a garden, Earth. The Milky Way glowed overhead. 312 council ships patrolled the space humanity once occupied. They found nothing. No colonies, no outposts, no signals, just silence. Sira Valdris was 70 years old. Her hair was gray. Her hands shook slightly when she poured tea. The silver pocket chronometer still sat on the table beside her, still kept perfect time. Thessa sat across from her. The illusion had learned to knit. Her first project was a scarf for Sira. It was uneven. The stitches were too loose in some places, too tight in others. It was the most beautiful thing Sira had ever seen. General Webb's scarf was 14 meters long now, 14,387 stitches. He wore it to bed. He wore it to breakfast. He wore it everywhere. Nina Volkov's starter, Dennis, had been divided 847 times. It now lived on 6 coalition worlds. In the Illusion Archive, it had its own climate-controlled habitat. The Memory Keepers called it the Ambassador from Earth. Dr. Aris Thorne had retired. He lived in a cottage in the Scottish Highlands. His ear still twitched when he calculated things. He calculated mostly for fun now. Kalen Mbeki taught jazz history at a small university on Mars. His students didn't know he had spent 12 years spying on the Galactic Council. He preferred it that way. Priya Chandrasekhar's pebble stack was 1,203 stones high. She had stopped counting at 1,000. She just kept stacking. The council is collapsing, Thessa said. She was knitting. Her manipulator digits moved slowly. The yarn was gray, Webb's scarf but smaller. I know, Sira said. She poured tea, chamomile steeped exactly 4 minutes. She didn't check the chronometer anymore. She just knew. Does it frighten you? Sira thought about it. No, we never wanted to be their enemy. We just wanted to be left alone. But they couldn't even give us that. Thessa paused. Her manipulator digit cracked, the stress cell she had carried for 12,000 years. What is humanity then? Without a council to defy. Sira looked at the photograph on the garden table. The duck pond, St. James's Park. 11 ducks, 3 pigeons, 1 bench. Her mother's bench. She had not visited in 12 years. She would go tomorrow. She thought for 47 seconds. The exact time her tea used to take to cool. We are the species that brings tea to the funeral of a stranger, she said. We are the ones who count the names. We are the ones who knit while the galaxy burns. She smiled, and we are very, very patient. The teacup sat between them on the garden table. The hairline crack was still there. Lightning bolt shape, dropped the day her mother died. But now the crack was filled with gold resin, an illusion repair technique for honoring broken things. Thessa had done it herself. 12,000 years of memory keeper training, and she had used it to fix a teacup. Sira lifted the cup. Still warm. She didn't count the seconds anymore. The steam rose in thin ribbons. The Milky Way turned overhead. Somewhere out there, 312 council ships patrolled empty space, looking for an enemy that had simply walked out the door. They would not find one. The garden smelled of chamomile and sourdough and wool. The scarf was uneven. The tea was perfect. The illusion kept knitting. The human kept pouring. And the galaxy kept turning, unaware that the most dangerous species in the universe had just brewed another pot.